Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to install these gate operators, and this is a Liftmaster LA500 series. We've got the package here. The package comes with the controller, the photocell, and the operators. This is for LA500 PKGU. So the contents within the operator, you have your controller, you have your photocell, your photo eye. And you have your reflector here for the photo eye. And of course, you've got some leads on there. For this photo eye, it seems half-inch hub would work on this one if you're putting it on a post, or if you're putting it on some sort of support that goes in from a half-inch inlet here. For the operator itself, we got the dual operator. It's going to be for a double door, a swing out double door. So we got the kit, the two operators here, the two motors. And over here, let me show you how they were installed. Okay, right here, you see how they were installed using a bracket. This was the original bracket that came with the kit. Unfortunately, this one here wouldn't make it, just due to the angle of the actual gate and how much it actually swings out, and I'll show you that in a minute. But the original bracket that came with the kit ended about somewhere around this area here. What we had to do is we had to weld a piece to extend this original bracket, and as you can see over here, the clearances are pretty close. And what we want it to do is get the motor as far as possible down to the bottom, or at least out of sight from the exterior, so you won't see any of the motor, or at least partially, as much concealed as possible from vision. This is a cable that came with the motor itself. It's about, I would say, about 4 feet, 3 feet maybe in length. Just enough to get to where you can install a J box or a junction box somewhere around this area. In our case, this is where we put the J box here. This was originally done before the actual pillar was installed. Everything ran underground. Let me show you here how the gate operates in this fully open position. Here you can see the clearances we have once the brackets are in place and everything's assembled. As you can see, we have very minimal clearance on this side, and that's why we had to push the bracket over, extend it over this way, so we have this clearance here so the motor or the operator won't hit the actual gate itself. So once opened in the fully open position, you can see how the driveway is past 90 degrees. And this is why we had to extend the bracket, so we have the extra added couple degrees over, I would say 10 degrees over additionally. Now for this particular installation, typically you install the controller right within reach of the actual operators, within side of the door. However, we had the opportunity to run everything underground, down into the garage, into a remote location where the controller is completely concealed and it's out of sight. However, we ran everything underground. There's a J box here that brings power to this side of the motor, and there's a J box on the opposite side of the pillar for the other side of the motor. I ran three-quarter conduit underground, down and over into the garage, and I'll show you where exactly that went to. It goes all the way across through the slab underground and all the way over to this gutter, this wireway right here we installed. But on the left hand side, that's where we have conduits coming from the gates, the junction boxes next to the gates. Each box on either side has its own run coming all the way over in this direction. Gate controller is going to go on the left, just on the left hand side right here. It needs 120 volts. we're going to bring it from this side of the box here. We're going to bring hardwire 120 volts into the controller, and then bring a 1-incher down into this the side compartment of the gutter to bring in all of our 24 volt wires for the left and right side motor. So this is this area here. We're going to bring a circuit in for the gate as well as everything else in here. The gate doesn't require that much power, so I can operate everything here, and everything else that I'm going to apply here off the same circuit. I don't see it being more than one circuit. But we're going to bring in the circuit. This is the panel feed coming into the gutter. From there, we're going to feed an additional circuit back out into the controller. So here we have the photo sensor. This is going to be placed over on this side, on the right hand side, let's call it, of the gates. We're going to place it somewhere along this area here, about 18 inches high. So this will prevent the gate from closing on you if there's an obstruction in the way from the line of sight of the actual photo sensor. We're going to come off this J box, and it's a 4-wire system. We've got 4 wires here, so we're going to run 4 wires here in addition to the 6 wires needed here for the actual operator. So everything's going to be ran through here, through the 3/4, all the way back to the controller. So right here, we're sending the fish tape in the direction of the garage where the controller is placed. That way we can proceed with pulling wire. Okay, and here's the other end of the fish tape. So here we're going to start pulling wire to the first controller on the left hand side. So this one, all it carries is just the power for the motor. So we're going to set up the wire and get it ready to get pulled. Okay, so this is the setup we have going on here. The top portion, you've got your black and your red. This is 10 gauge wire stranded. The bottom ones are 12 gauge wire, and the reason being is, the reason why we're pulling number 10s is this is a 24 volt gate operator. I'm not sure if we're gonna have a voltage issue as far as voltage drop. So I'm just increasing the wire size just to be on the safe side. The bottom ones are for, the gate operator has limit switches. It's got some components in there that communicate with the actual controller. So these are, it's a 6 wire system. 1 set per operator, so 1 set for the left, 1 set for the right. Okay, so they're somewhat tapered and staggered. As you can see, it kind of makes for a better head there. I left this one long just so I can tie into the fish tape. Okay, so here we're gonna put a conduit there with the 1-incher going up, and I just want it to a length where we can work with, plus some extra. So I found that this right here would be the best proper length here that we can work with. So for this location, this is a left-hand operator. This one has one. We need one output from the from this location here, just for the motor itself. So what we did is we got a weatherproof single gang cover plate with a gasket. This is for weather conditions. This is what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a connector, a cable connector, strain reliever here. So we're gonna bring the cable from the operator straight into this connector here, and we're gonna place it right there. And of course, we're gonna use a gasket to make it weather tight. Now, let's move on to the right-hand side. Okay, so this is the right-hand side of the operator. Here we have a double connecting point. So we drill 2 holes on the plate, and that's for, of course, one for the operator, the motor, and one for the photo control, which would be on the right-hand side, which eventually will mount right here. This cable will come back out into here. And as discussed earlier, we ran the additional cables here for it. So these cables here on the right hand side are for the operator, the motor, and these cables here on the left hand side are for your photo control here. So this is a housing, the bracket that actually holds the unit together. But it's just one hole, one retaining screw, and this actually just sits right on it. And if you can see the 2 brackets here, that's what holds on to the actual bracket itself. So these 2 tabs will hold on to there, slide it in there, and it clicks right in place. Now on the other side, we have the reflector. This is very important. We have to keep it at the same elevation. So what we did here is we ran a line. In fact, we ran a laser to make sure that both units were exactly at the same elevation. But yeah, same thing. It's got a bracket here. It's got a screw right inside. It's got 1 retaining screw. I mean, 1's more than enough to go anywhere. And this just sits right in there with 2. And that's the photo controller. Okay, so here we're gonna get ready to connect these to the junction box here. So we're gonna trim these down. We're gonna tailor them to size. I'm gonna shorten these right here. It's a lot of length. I've already measured enough as far as giving yourself a loop here. I zip tied all these together. Drilled some holes here with zip ties just to keep, some sort of like wire management going right here for this whole system. So yeah, pretty much I'm gonna tailor this and so you've got your length here. You just do some trimming here just to kind of get the excess insulation out of the way. Got your gate operator circuitry here. This is your gate operator here. So just go based off the color sequence you chose. Now I'm gonna go look for the screws long enough to tie into here. The wire nicely in there, just making sure that nothing's hitting the point of where you're actually going to screw into. So inside the controller, you have multiple components here. On the left-hand side, you have your 120 volt supply. This is where your main power goes in. It goes into this knockout right here. This is a 1/2 inch knockout. We bring power into here to make our connections in here. These are the 2 wires here, so that's where they connect to, and of course, we ground it as well. Right over here, you have your low voltage controllers. This thing is operated on 24 volts. You have your terminals here for your operators. Operator number 1, operator number 2. And these are your accessories here as well. So all these, eventually we're going to tie into them. But yeah, this is just a basic layout of the whole controller. And just showing you the basic components. This is a controller. In addition, we added the irrigation controller as well. Just because we were already in this area, it was just a little bit easier for us to just add it on there. Conduits for the irrigation system were put down there as well, so it just made sense to add the irrigation controller there as well. But yeah, this is how it looks. You've got your 1-inch conduit here. This is for all your low voltage stuff, your 24 volts for your operators as well as your photo eye. So everything's going to go through this conduit here for both your left and right operator on the gate itself, and this is your motor on the gate. They're all going to go here into the controller. As you can see, the 1-inchers in there, and we're going to terminate into the terminals here on the board. As far as the power, we brought the power on the left-hand side. So the same circuit's going to operate this controller as well as this controller. So both controllers are on the same circuit. As you can see, we've got LBs here with a chase nipple into them. This is going to get hardwired as well as this. We're going to come up and over into the box so we can power up both controllers. So that's pretty much what we did thus far, and so far it's coming along very well. So as you can see here, I labeled the first one. This is your gate operator number 1, which we've designated as your left operator. As you can see, this other portion here, this one here is for your right operator, and this is what we're going to connect to each and every terminal. Here, the terminations, I mean the wire, we don't have to strip more than, I would say, 1/4 of an inch, maybe less. It's more than enough. As you can see here, I stripped a little too much, but still, it's still within reason. Once they're stripped, we just terminate them here. You need a small screwdriver here to land them. And as you can see here, the 2 number 10s are paired with the red and blue, as discussed earlier. Those were the 2 bigger wires of the out at the gate operator, and of course you have the rest of your color sequence there. But just cross-reference between what you used out in the field for the gate operators and what you actually installed here to kind of match up what the sequence that you used. The first operator goes here. You can see here on the board, it actually tells you gate number 1. Here it should tell you gate number 2. Yeah, it should say there's somewhere gate number 1 and gate number 2. But either way, this I designated as gate number 1. This is going to plug right in there, and this we're going to designate as gate number 2, which plugs right in there, as you can see. And one thing to mention before you start plugging anything in, and I know you see a few loose ends on the controller, don't plug this in until you're ready to energize. You first energize and then plug this in. So with this cable here, this harness is, this modular connector is, this is your battery source. It has a battery, this whole system has a battery backup that in the event of a power outage, of course, it turns into a battery, it turns to battery backup to operate the gate operators. Of course, and you don't want to be locked out under certain circumstances. You want power as your backup source so you can operate the gate. So this you don't connect, and this goes here. Just don't connect it until you're ready to, until it's fully energized, and then you connect. So these are your 2 gate operators here, and this is your photo eye. So this will be connected thereafter. But for now, we're connecting these 2. to the two modular connectors, plugging them in, and then we'll start working on this one. Here we have a close-up of the controller after all terminations have been made. At this point, the controller is now energized and fully functional. Bottom left, we have our 120 volt power terminations. In the center, we have our gate number 1 and gate number 2 terminations. And to the far right, we have our photo eye terminations. And notice how the photo eye wires terminate into two different blocks. Please choose the function for your photo eye that is right for your application. If you would like a more descriptive explanation on the setup of the controller, please comment below. This is it for this video. I hope you found it useful, and thank you for watching.